Welcome back to Going Walkabout. We've been in France for about 2 months now, which makes me realize how many Americans believe things about the French which simply aren't true. I guess you could call these myths. I'm not sure if these myths developed from books we may have read like Dumas's Man in the Iron Mask or The Four Musketeers. It could be films we might have seen, like The Pink Panther, or my personal favorite, Amélie, all depicting a world that is neither modern-day France or reality. Today, I'll go over 10 myths many Americans believe about the French, and hopefully, that will demystify them once and for all. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Susan Steele, and with my husband of 40 years, Carl Steele, we sold everything 4 years ago, endeavoring to travel and to find a new home. We've been in France for 2 months now, and you may have watched our series on house hunting. Not to worry, there'll be another video out next week, and we have 3 homes that we had looked at in the meantime. This is our second time living in France. We lived in Nice for 3 months as well. And I've realized that so many people have some major misconceptions about the French. Thus, the video today, where we'll go over 10 myths or misconceptions that people have. So let's get started at number 1. Number 1 myth: the French are snobbish, arrogant, and rude. I did look up a host of statistics on this, and sadly enough, many of them do point to the fact that the French are that way. However, I will tell you, that is completely a myth. The French are very formal people, and by that I mean their language is very formal and how they treat each other is very formal and genteel. With that said, in France, children are taught from a very young age to, first of all, be very respectful, but also to greet everyone every day. And so you will get a host of bonjours, bonne nuits, things of that nature. You will get a lot of mercis and merci beaucoup. The French really dislike it when someone approaches them and just barrels right into a question as opposed to saying some of those niceties. So if you go to a French person and say, "Where is this?" or "Where is that?" and you don't first say, "Bonjour," anything of that nature, "S'il vous plaît," then you might get a little bit of a cold shoulder. And I think that's where the rudeness kind of thoughts have come in with people. After having lived here for 3 months in Nice and 2 months here in Occitan, I've never had a problem. You don't have to speak fluent French. All you need to do is show people that you're willing to meet them part way, and then they certainly will go the rest of the way. And I've yet to meet anybody who has ever been rude, snobbish, or arrogant. So hopefully that myth is dispelled. Number 2, French food is too complicated and fancy. This is pretty funny because the French invented the French fry back in the 16th century, of which Americans eat 40 pounds a year on an individual basis. With that said, most French food has got bases in the rural areas. In other words, coq au vin is actually a recipe, chicken with wine, and you usually use an old chicken, and then the wine tenderizes the chicken. Beef bourguignon is the same thing. It's basically a stew, kind of a fancier name, but it's a stew. And you put the beef in for a long period of time and it softens the beef up. Many of the dishes in France are born out of the peasants and the folks that work in the field. So if you really take them at their basics, they're easy to make and they're very tasty because they use a lot of wine and different elements to make the meats taste better. One of my personal favorites is ratatouille, which is just the combination of many vegetables. And when you come to rural France, you'll see they have a lot of farmers and they have a lot of vegetables. And so it puts all of those things to good use, and it's very inexpensive and it's a great meal. So far from cordon bleu, everyday French food is anything but fancy. And that's a great segue into the number 3 myth, which is French people are always thin. Hopefully we already established that the French love to eat. So how do they stay so thin? This is where the myth comes in. The French don't actually eat that much. They have very dedicated eating times. They have the petit déjeuner, which is your breakfast, which is petite. They usually have coffee and maybe something small like a piece of toast or a croissant. They have déjeuner, which is your lunch, and the lunch goes from 12 to 2. It's not fully 2 hours. They usually take about an hour, but it's their biggest meal of the day. And many times they will have a glass of wine or something, but it's their largest meal of the day. And in the evening, they usually have something to eat after 7, but it's usually fairly light. Now, what they don't do is they don't snack. And snacking, I think, has become a worldwide phenomena, but the French don't believe in it. So not snacking, coupled with the fact that they eat really good whole foods, their foods do not have processed ingredients in them, I believe goes a long way to helping them maintain those wonderful, chic French figures. And that's a good segue into number 4, which is the French are so stylish and their clothes are a top priority for them. And while I agree, the French are very stylish, most French people are on a pretty strict budget. And that is why you find French people tend to go with very classical types of looks. You'll see a lot of horizontal striped shirts in all different types of colors and so forth, which is a very chic look coupled with a scarf. They'll buy maybe a nice expensive pair of jeans and an expensive pair of shoes, and that goes a long way to giving them a very classically dressed chic outfit. They don't have a lot of money to waste on buying multiples of items, so what they'll usually do is go for quality over quantity. It's really fun to sit at a cafe on a Saturday and just watch the pageantry of life go by, because the French do dress to impress. They all look wonderful in their different outfits. Do they have a lot of clothes to wear? No, but they use them strategically, and because they maintain a healthy diet, they look good in their clothes. So hopefully that myth is dispelled. Myth number 5, the French don't speak any English. When I delved into the statistics on this, they were pretty startling. Out of 65 million French people, 38.6 million people actually not only speak English, but at least have a knowledge of English, which I thought was funny because in America, we have about 330 million people and only about 1.8 million people speak French. So only 2% of Americans understand the French language or speak it. And I mentioned this earlier. You don't need to speak French to come to France, but it's really important to learn a few phrases that you will use throughout the day, every day, multiple times a day. Things like merci and s'il vous plaît are really important because it is a more formal culture and a more formal language. We have found that hand signals and using Google Translate has helped us enormously in getting through our normal transactions in the day, and we have not felt in any way that anybody has looked down on us because we don't speak the language fully. Number 6, we have the French don't like Americans, and this is absolutely not true. The French don't like the American way of life. They don't like our kind of workaholic culture and the fact that many times it seems like many people put work before family and personal life. However, there's many things they love about the American culture. They love our comedy. They love Jerry Lewis. They thought he was actually pretty intellectual. They love the can-do attitude. They love the entrepreneurial spirit that we have. And they like the wide open spaces that we have in our country. One of the things I've noticed that they really love is the Rat Pack. The love of the Rat Pack extends to their current day culture. A local radio station did a special on the Rat Pack. And on a personal note, we have not once felt in the time that we've been here that anybody has looked at us differently or in an unfriendly way because we're Americans. So hopefully that myth can be dispelled. Number 7, we have the French are lazy and take too much time off. I believe this is jealousy speaking because the French get an average of about 30 to 35 days off a year, and if they have any kind of maternal leave, that can be quite a bit longer. The myth here is that despite the fact that they do get more time off, their productivity for anybody working in the country does not diminish. In fact, all the statistics I looked up, and you can see them here, show that the French only lag by a country or two behind America in their productivity. So they are far from lazy. And what I've noticed since I've been here is that they're incredibly proud of the jobs they do. And it doesn't matter if they're a waiter or if they're a girl that works in the shop or if they're a trash man. They're all very, very proud of their jobs, and they do an exceptional job. We've watched over the last couple months just seeing how the cities are so clean and the villages are so clean and the vineyards are taken care of. And when you go into a store, it's immaculate. They're very, very proud of what they do. So they're the furthest thing from lazy that I've ever seen. Number 8, the French drink wine all the time. About 16% of French people drink all the time, but that's a lot less than it was 50 years ago. Just to add some information behind that, in 1975, the average French person drank about 100 liters of wine a year. And currently, that's down to about 42 liters of wine a year. Funnily enough, the country that drinks the most wine, you got it, the good old USA. We drink about 900 million gallons of wine a year. And that's dropped a little bit, but we're still number 1 by a long shot. Which I'm sure the French are happy about because they're the biggest exporters of wine in the world. At number 9, I have the French are frugal. And the myth here is that it's really not frugality. It is more that they are careful with their money. To that end, they don't believe in credit cards and buying things on credit. French people live within their means, and so if it takes longer to get something that costs more money, then so be it. But they don't like to live on credit, which I think is just I think is very reasonable, and I actually feel very comfortable around it. I like it. However, it is different from many parts of the world that have embraced the credit. And quite frankly, in France, it's looked at as a virtue to save money or to spend money wisely and buy things that are of quality as opposed to, as I said before, quantity. And here we are at number 10, and that's that the French are quirky. And this is one myth that happens to be true. From their iconic cars like the Citroën or the Renault, to movies like Amélie or La Cage aux Folles, including their fashion sense, which is always somewhat playful and fun. I see the French as being wonderfully quirky and unique. I hope you've enjoyed these Mythbusters. If you have, a thumbs up really helps the channel, or better yet, subscribe. I do a new video every week. Thanks again for watching. Cheers for now.